You're listening to the all-new CultureCast, Chicagoland's finest podcast. Welcome back, everyone, to the all-new CultureCast. I'm your host, Nick, and with me, of course, is...
the Gorehound.
Alrighty, welcome, Gorehound. How are you doing today?
I am doing pretty good, getting a shit ton of technical difficulties, but I am making it work. I'm pushing on through these. So, how about your day today?
Can't complain. It's, I got some stuff hopefully we could talk about here momentarily, but it's been going pretty good.
Yeah.
It's raining today, so, it is what it is.
It's been thundering like crazy the past few hours.
Yeah. For those of you who are listening at home, if there's something weird with our audio quality or something unusual with the audio quality, probably has something to do with the fact that the Gorehound is talking to me through his cell phone.
Because my internet just cut out. Like, it's 8:30 right now, and I just realized at like 8:09 that internet was not working. The router is not powering on. I'm screwed. So we figured out, so I should say Gorehound figured out something, and honestly, much to my surprise, it sounds better than I was expecting. I've heard bad things about cell phone calls through Skype, so when you suggested that to me, I was like, okay, we'll try it, but that's crow for me to be eating right now. But let's not be speaking too soon, because it's
right.
only a minute in.
Yes, that's true. It could go south, and if it goes south, you people will never be hearing this to begin with. So there you go. But anyway, we got a fun topic today. At least I think it's a fun topic. But we'll get to that in a moment. First, we're going to go into a relatively new segment on the all-new CultureCast with Male Crush of the Week, which will be headed up by the Gorehound.
It is going to fuse into what I have been watching.
Okay.
Because Male Crush of the Week is Hodor.
Hodor. Oh, controversial stuff going on with Game of Thrones.
Oh my god, dude. That one hurt. So, are you familiar?
I actually did watch that episode, yes. I'm not
Okay.
I don't consider myself a Game of Thrones fan, but I happened to watch that one.
Oh my god, dude. That hit hard. Because Hodor is just this guy who's just like, he's always in the episode, he's always like super cool, and he never really does anything epic, but then when he does, it's just like, man, it hits hard. He's like my favorite guy right now. But honestly, I don't think what he did, he could have gone out in a better way to say, because he didn't need to save. I would have much rather have had Hodor stick around than Bran. Because Bran has just been, I don't get his storyline. It's just no fun. He went out doing the good thing, helping somebody out, and it's intense, dude.
I don't watch the show, so seeing him die like that had no effect on me, but it did seem to be a weak excuse for him to die. That, like, okay, he saved Bran, that's great, but it seemed like, this whole time he just needed to hold the door so he can get away. Which that this character is going to face like other troubles down the line, so it just seemed kind of like anticlimactic, I guess. But
just the physical environment I was like, what? Are you in a cave? And somebody built a door out of this cave.
Yeah, it was a little weird.
It's just like, I don't. And honestly, if he's holding the door, he's not going to last that long holding it. They're going to get out, and, next episode, give him like 10 minutes, and the White Walkers are going to catch up with him. So, was it really that epic?
Yeah, I guess that's the thing. It didn't seem as epic as I guess it could have, given the backstory that we just learned about it. That he had been, the Hodor meant the entire time, hold the door.
What have you been watching?
I finished up the season of The Flash.
Okay, season 2, is that right?
Season 2, yeah. I don't like the show anymore.
Yeah.
It's just, it seems like, and I'm not going to quit it. I'm going to give it a chance for next season, but it just seems like the characters are dumb. They're supposed to be scientists, right? And they're supposed to be smart, but they make the dumbest decisions. I don't know. I felt this season, definitely a case of what's called the sophomore slump. That it's its second year, and it just, I don't know. They're throwing everything at the wall. The story arc was all over the place, and it just got stupid at the end, I felt. I know I'm probably going to get a lot of hate from that, but I don't care. Speaking of, not necessarily something that I watch, but speaking of news and related to The Flash, I, perhaps against my better judgment, I haven't been collecting new comics in a while. Just the prices have gone up, and I just said enough. But today I went to the comic book store because the hotly anticipated DC Universe Rebirth was released. Are you familiar with this special initiative that DC
I
Comics
think
is
you
doing?
mentioned it a while ago, but please retell the story.
Long story short, DC Comics is sort of doing a facelift to their storylines and their continuity and everything. To obviously the ultimate goal is to boost sales, but they kind of want to get back to what they feel is best, like in their comics, like legacy and positive and hopefulness. I decided, all right, I'll give it a shot. So I picked up the.
Wait, so are these remakes, comic remakes
It's not
of
a remake.
Origin?
No. It's they use the term rebirth as a way to bring back what they feel they've been missing. So it's not like a reboot or anything. I read Rebirth, which for a comic that's like 80 pages for $2.99, it's actually a pretty good deal. They have some things that are good in it, some things that are bad. They brought back a character that did not need to be brought back. I'd love to give the long version of the story. Basically, the character of Wally West, who is a version of the Flash. He used to be the Flash's sidekick. When DC Comics rebooted a couple years back, this character was nowhere to be seen. When they decided to finally reintroduce the character, they reimagined him as a biracial character. And of course, the internet went berserk because, God forbid, a somewhat popular character is now biracial. Oh no, privileged white men are having their things taken away from them. How dangerous. Part of this story is they were able to bring that character back, the original white version, which, whatever. But in an odd move, they're keeping the new version around as well, which is really weird. But I suppose it'll make sense in the end. But the biggest thing, which I know is going to cause controversy, is that DC Comics, I don't know how familiar you are with this, but DC Comics, it looks like they're bringing in the characters from the popular comic book series / graphic novel Watchmen. It looks like they're introducing those characters officially in the DC universe, which before is its own separate thing.
But it was owned by DC from the
DC
get-go, right?
DC did own it, yes. So they're entitled to do this. But for the longest time, it was its own, in its own little corner, untouched by everything else. It's unclear exactly how they're bringing them in or why they're bringing them in terms from a story perspective. But it does open up some interesting possibilities. And if they are able to pull it off, I think it could be very good. But I think it's easy for them to screw it up as well. I don't mean to be snarky about that. I mean, I just think if it doesn't work, it's going to be awful. But if it does work, then it has the potential of being something fantastic. So I don't know. It got me interested in buying comics again because with this new initiative, they're reducing the price of comics. The reason I stopped buying The Flash a year ago was because they upped the price to $3.99 an issue. I'm sorry, that's just too much for me to pay for a comic book. The downside is like the comics I would collect, they're releasing, even though they're dropping the price to $2.99, which is the limit that I set for myself to buy a monthly comic.
Yeah.
They're releasing 2 issues of it per month. So there'd be 2 issues of Flash each month, 2 issues of Superman and Batman, and the bigger ones, which is great. The price is reduced, but there's 2 of them coming out. So
there's more of them, yeah.
Yeah, which is kind of like, double-edged sword there.
Yeah.
But on the other hand, it's like, wow, you get to read more per month, so take it for what it's worth. So, but as we're recording this comic just came hot off the presses into my hands. So anyway, that's what's been going on with me and what I've been following up with.
So yeah, this week we are talking about The Running Man.
Yes, the classic Schwarzenegger film. What year did this come out? 1987? Yes, 1987. Stars Arnold Schwarzenegger, Richard Dawson, who's best known for being the original host of Family Feud.
That's where I recognized him from.
Yeah.
I knew that there were a bunch of big names, but I couldn't put them with anything.
Football player Jim Brown, and criminally underused in this movie, Jesse Ventura.
Oh gosh, Captain Freedom.
Yeah. And he has hair, which is so weird.
Yeah, but he looked good. He looked good.
He looked awesome, but I'm sure we'll talk about him momentarily. So,
basically, it's Hunger Games, but from the 80s, and with like a sci-fi twist to it.
And much more awesomer.
Yeah, and basically in an eggshell. Arnold Schwarzenegger is like an army pilot, and boss tells him, go shoot these civilians, and he's like, I will not do that. And he doesn't, and he ends up becoming a criminal, ends up getting put into... he ends up becoming a running man, which basically means that he gets put in this game show where... Who was the guy that you just mentioned?
Richard Dawson.
Yeah, where Richard Dawson is the host, and he basically pits a whole bunch of criminals against a whole bunch of stalkers who are like
they're like
celebrity.
Yeah, like celebrity. They're basically, they seem like, they remind me of like American Gladiators almost.
Yeah, exactly. Where these stalkers, like the criminals, go through all these rounds and the stalkers try to kill them. People place bets on which stalker is going to kill the criminals, and the criminals end up winning and getting revenge and
yes, the
happy ending.
Yeah, we'll talk about that ending here, I'm sure. But yeah, you got it down pat there with the premise there. Schwarzenegger has to beat this game, and if he does, he's able to get his freedom. And if he doesn't, well, he dies. Of course, we learn that the criminals who are featured on the show, the ones who do win, don't actually get their freedom. They're killed anyway.
Right. It's basically just a death match.
Yes.
Everybody's going to die in there.
I like this movie a lot. This was awesome.
Yeah, and you've seen this before, right?
No, I saw it for the first. It's been on my Netflix.
First time?
Yeah, it's been on my Netflix queue for a while. When we were looking for an episode to do tonight, I recommended this and another movie, and you in all caps said Running Man. So I'm like, all right, this gives me an excuse to watch it.
Yeah, this has been one of my favorite movies for a while, and when I lived because it was kind of hard to find for a few years, because I remember in Stager, where I last lived, I went to like all the local video rental stores to try to find Running Man, and every single time I would ask them if they had Running Man, they would all be like, I wish. Like, that movie's awesome, albeit nobody had it, so like I wasn't able to watch it in a while. But I guess I just forgot that it was on Netflix now.
Yes.
So that's awesome.
For those of you listening, yes, you can watch it on Netflix.
Yeah, go check it out.
This movie was made, I would say, in the prime of awesome Schwarzenegger films.
Yeah, definitely.
Like this is
one of his best ones.
Yeah, this was after the original Terminator, before Terminator 2, which I feel T2 was kind of where he peaked. And after that, his films were still good, but they were more like... They weren't as clever or original as the earlier ones, the ones he made in the 80s. Mm-hmm. Like, not your Commandos or anything like that, which is another awesome movie. You've seen Commando, right? Yeah, that's... Oh, God, the movie's great. So, this movie's very much in the style of those films where Schwarzenegger has really cheesy lines.
Oh, so many of them, and they're just like explicit.
Yeah.
Like you can pretty much count down until you know he's going to say something. It's just like so predictable, but it always hits its mark because it's a one-liner and it's Schwarzenegger, and those have built his career.
Oh yeah, I mean it's weird watching the original Terminator where he doesn't have a lot of lines, doesn't have a lot of one-liners. Yeah, and definitely this film does. The only thing I feel like it takes forever for the film to get to the Running Man sequence.
Yeah, it is slow. It really builds up to become the Running Man, which it is one of the movie's not very good, I don't think. but it is very fun in its own sense,
Mm-hmm.
and not in like it's so bad it's good. It's got a lot of elements that just really just bring it together,
Mm-hmm.
that really make it very enjoyable to watch, and you're not just watching it because it's bad and there's a bunch of one-liners. It's actually got a cohesive story behind it.
Yeah, it does have an interesting story, and it does have an interesting background, which I'd like to talk about here in a moment.
Yeah.
But going back to the specific plot, or the casting rather, Richard Dawson as the host was brilliant casting, because everyone, I think the average American audience knows him as the host of Family Feud. And on Family Feud, he set the tone for what game show hosts have to be. They're charming, they're a little creepy, but you still like them. And he is doing. He may not be acting at all in this movie, but there's
Right.
definitely like a twinkle in his eye, just a smarminess
Hmm.
that's able
Because
to ring true.
yeah, he has like a scripted role, but at the same time, he has to adapt to all of these like live actions that are happening. That's what would happen in real life. Is
Mhm.
yes, it's a lot more production value, and
Like, I love when he's giving them prizes and everyone wins the home edition of The Running Man.
yes, yeah,
It's amazing how desensitized the culture in this movie is, that after, and this is like the first time ever, one of their stalkers is killed, everyone's like in hushed tones.
yeah,
But
just fall silent.
but when you go back to it, they're all like, "Yeah, kill him, kill him."
Right.
It's like they're just whatever. He died. Next thing. I found it funny that this film takes place in 2017, next year.
Yeah, I was thinking maybe we should hold off.
Well, maybe this is a preview if we get a Trump presidency.
Yeah.
Oh, bringing in politics on the podcast.
Maybe 1 year from now we can review this podcast
Yeah.
and revisit it in celebration of 2017.
Speaking of the futuristic setting in this film,
Yeah.
one of the things that I kind of noticed, one of the things I thought about when I was watching this is that I know it's not perfect, but with some slight reworking, this could have been a wonderful sequel to Escape from New York.
Oh yeah,
I mean,
definitely.
obviously, this movie's a little bit lighter in tone with Schwarzenegger's jokes and everything, but just the premise, the world that they live in, and as weird as it sounds, like at the beginning of the film, where Schwarzenegger is flying the plane, and you see
Yeah.
their radar screen, and it's that like 80s style grid graphics.
Hmm.
It reminded me so much of Escape from New York when Snake is trying to land on the World Trade Center and his little graphic interface that he has. So I'm thinking,
Yeah.
man, they could have made this into an escape movie. Like, instead
Yeah.
of
Yeah.
Schwarzenegger have Snake in there.
Yeah. Oh my God. Have they ever been in a movie together? Kurt Russell and Arnold?
I don't know. I don't think so.
I don't. Yeah, I don't think so either.
I mean, I don't think Kurt Russell's been in any of those Expendable movies, but
He
surprises
could
me.
have
He'd
been.
be a perfect person to be in an Expendable movie, but
Oh yeah, dude. It really does look like Escape from New York in so many aspects. I think where it differs is that this one is a lot more lighthearted
oh
and
yeah.
funny and just like over the top, and where Escape from New York is just like real slow, real dark, kind
hmm
of scary.
Yeah, I mean, it's not exact. Like, you can't just plug in the different characters, but I think just
You
in
can see
terms
a
of
lot of
yeah,
similarities.
just the premise in general, be like, with some slight reworking, this could have been Escape from New York 2, or I don't know, Escape from the Running Man, or whatever. But
Yeah.
so I don't know. I just found that like, wow, hey, look at that.
Yeah.
So
Did you see any similarities to Blade Runner in this one?
maybe with like a reverse of Blade Runner.
Yeah.
For instead of the main character going after the bad guys are kind of coming after him.
Yeah.
And I do feel like some of the night scenes had a similar aesthetic to them.
Yeah. I felt like a lot of the outdoor scenes
Yeah.
really mirrored the dystopian environment that Blade Runner really set up, though Blade Runner,
Hmm.
excelled at it, and Running Man kind of just took notions from it. Or I
Yeah.
don't know if it was at the same time or whatnot, but in theory,
Yeah. I also felt some connections, and this is probably just coincidental because I think they were released around the same time, to RoboCop. Like
okay,
in the
yeah,
movie, in the original RoboCop, how much of a shithole Detroit actually was. And when you saw like the different shanty towns, you don't see them too often, but when they're taking bets and everything,
yeah,
it had the same sort of aesthetic there. But again, all these movies were in like the 80s, so
yeah,
no doubt they're going to share a lot of similarities just being the time period that they're in. So I want to talk about the ending of the film.
yeah.
I feel it ended kind of weird. And not so much that, okay, Schwarzenegger won, the bad guys are defeated, but it just seemed like they meet up with the resistance.
Hmm.
They they go back to the game show and they start, fighting with the bad guys. The girl, what's her name? I don't remember what her name is.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, she goes off in her own way. What was she doing? Like, why was she like running away? Like, where was she going to go?
I kind of missed her running away.
Well, it was like maybe it wasn't running away, but like they get into the studio and they're in the hallways, and Schwarzenegger's like, "Good luck," and she's like, "Good luck," and they part. They go their separate ways. Schwarzenegger goes to get Killian, and she runs into
Opera
the
guy.
yeah that guy
Yeah, Dynamo,
Dynamo. Yeah, she
yeah,
runs into him,
best stalker ever.
she runs into him, and she kills him,
Right.
and then she winds up back in the studio where after Schwarzenegger killed Killian. Like,
Yeah,
where
so
was she? What was she doing? Like, was she
maybe there was like a deleted scene where they were discussing as to what they were going to do, and that got cut, and we just see them
like
going
reuniting?
on. Yeah, yeah. Okay, I can see that. Yeah, we don't really know where she was going.
Yeah, and I guess I'm also kind of like I thought the movie was going one way in the sense that Schwarzenegger joined up with this resistance, that they were going to, I don't know, take down the government or whoever the ultimate bad guys are, but they kill Killian, and then they're like, "All right, we're done," and that's the end of the movie. I was like,
Yeah.
"Oh, what's happening next? What are they gonna
Well,
do?"
no, because I can see that because it is a very simple plot line. They don't
Yeah,
really get into like world conspiracies, because they kind of keep the whole movie. Well, no, I was going to say that they keep the whole movie pretty much isolated to the Running Man, like we just discussed. It built up to the Running Man for a quarter of the movie, and so no, there's really a bigger world outside of the
yeah.
Running Man,
They
which
they do a lot of good world building. Like
yeah,
they do like establishing their tone. Um, and I guess along those lines, I thought, like how Schwarzenegger was looking for his brother at the beginning. That's how he runs into Amber.
yeah.
I thought he was going to like try to find his brother or something. Like that's never brought up again. It was just a weird sort of thing to throw out there.
Oh
Um,
yeah, yeah, yeah.
like
That is true.
for a second, I thought it was going to be like the bodyguard. I thought that was going to be revealed to be Schwarzenegger's brother.
Okay.
Because like he starts getting irritated with Killian at the
Oh
end.
yeah, yeah,
He's just like
and
he leaves Killian to die and or defend for himself. And I thought there was going to be like, "You're my brother," but no, that there's none of that. Which
yeah.
it's just weird that they even established that at the beginning.
And I would have really liked to see more resistance influence throughout the entire movie, kind of just like a hint here and a hint there.
Yeah,
But no, it really does just pop up like, oh wow, that is so great that you guys are here and you're able to help me at this point in the story. Let's
yeah.
proceed.
Where is this? So the Resistance is hanging out in the arena that the Running Man
I,
takes place in.
I believe it's underground in the arena. Yes, kind of like Mole Men.
That's really weird for some reason. Like of all
Yeah,
places to hide, why there?
yeah, that is what I got. from that, which
I mean, maybe
does
they're
not make
looking
any
for a way to disrupt the signal, and that's why they were there. But still, it's like they were totally there to be like, we'll pop up when the story demands us to pop up.
right, right. Yeah, I mean they carry it through, but
Right. Jesse Ventura.
oh my
Why did
god,
they not do
Captain
more with
Freedom.
him? Captain Freedom. What was it? His name was Captain Freedom, right?
Yes, yes.
He was amazing in the limited time that he had.
Right, he starts off as a fitness instructor,
Yeah, when he
which
popped up, I'm like, oh my god. I started
yeah,
laughing.
yeah,
And then he doesn't want to fight Schwarzenegger because he didn't want to wear the stupid costume, so they fake it. I was expecting him. I'm disappointed that he and Schwarzenegger didn't have a fight. Like a legit fight, not the fake one.
hmm yeah. But the fake one was pretty good, and I think that really was a good throw into the science fiction genre and superimposing like somebody's face onto somebody else's.
Yeah.
So
Even
that
though
was
they actually did kill that guy.
right, right. But it was some good quality science fiction theme in
Yeah.
that.
I mean, this film is loaded with ideas. I mean, it's such a. I wouldn't mind seeing more of this world.
hmm
I mean, I don't know
Yeah.
if they ever. I mean, it's probably too late now. They won't make a sequel. But if I would have been up for a sequel just to see, like, okay, what can happen next?
Well, it kind of already has been made into a sequel
Really?
into the Hunger Games.
Oh well, I'd call that more of a remake. But
Yeah.
it definitely does take a lot. The Hunger Games definitely does have inspiration from the Running
Yeah.
Man.
I feel like the Hunger Games is just like spot on Running Man remake.
Like Running Man for high school
Yeah,
kids.
they pretty much took the engine from Running Man, put it into like a new car, gave it a Jennifer Lawrence is behind the wheel, and just like give it a paint job and like threw in like a few other cars to it, and basically just drove it along.
Yeah, I could totally see that. Yeah. Do you have anything else to say about the Running Man?
Oh, I was going to say at the very beginning that I was going to go on a run before the podcast, but it started raining, so I just did a regular workout, and I did not get a run in before my Running Man podcast.
I'm going to pretend you didn't just say that.
So you said that you've never seen this before.
Uh-uh.
Um,
Which is a shame because I love Schwarzenegger films.
yeah, yeah. It how do you think this ranks? What's your favorite Arnold film?
That's a good question. I haven't seen all of them, so I'm not in a good position to be like this one, that one. I do like Commando quite a bit. That's a pretty good one.
Okay,
T2 is also pretty good.
okay. So from T2, because I find T2 to be perfect. T2 being a 10 and Hercules in New York being a 0. um, where does the Running Man stand?
I would say probably between 7 and 8. 7 and 8.
Yeah, I'd give it a solid 8. I listened to a few podcasts on Running Man this past week, and a lot of people were saying that this was really similar to Commando. I've only seen Commando a few times, but I didn't really see that any sort of similarity between the two.
The only similarities that I would identify is at the very beginning when Schwarzenegger is carrying the giant steel beam in one arm over his shoulder.
Oh yeah,
It kind of reminded me of Commando when he does the same thing with a huge tree trunk.
yeah,
But beyond that, I mean, outside of like the quips,
yeah,
I don't know.
yeah.
But
I didn't see it that much. I feel like Commando and Running Man are two pretty distinctly different movies.
yeah, I mean, they might share some same DNA because of Schwarzenegger, but
Yeah,
yeah, no, I don't see that necessarily.
yeah,
But now you've given me a reason to rewatch Commando, so
yeah.
yeah, I'm down with that.
Yeah.
Honestly, I'm looking at his Schwarzenegger's filmography. I almost want to start a spin-off podcast where we look at every single Schwarzenegger film in
And then maybe
chronological order.
And then maybe have like a few stints of his role as governor. And so maybe do like a political month where you just talk about everything that he does politically.
Yeah, we could do that too. We could look at that. I don't know what he does. I wish he was like the commando as the governor. That'd be awesome.
Yeah.
Like if we had like a Schwarzenegger spin-off, we could look at his like really bad films, like such as Hercules in New York, or his perfect films such as Batman and Robin. Oh my God, he saves that movie.
Yeah.
But anyway, we're getting way off topic.
I've got nothing else on this movie.
Okay, yeah, I recommend it. Do you recommend it?
Oh yeah, hands down, because I think this really plays into a lot of different people's interests. Mm-hmm. Because really, it's not a teen drama, but it's the same story as Hunger Games. I think all men like Schwarzenegger and would be entertained by this movie, so you have 49% of the population.
Yeah, this film, even my fiance was like, you need to do The Running Man. Like, if you like Schwarzenegger and you like cheesy action films, you are not going to go wrong with everything. Everything just works in this film. So we're about to wrap up, and I have a surprise for you, Gorehound. As we were talking here, I thought of a trivia thing I want to give to you. So
right,
this is going to be a brand new segment on the show. We're going to try to end each segment where I ask the Gorehound trivia questions in the world of pop culture to test his knowledge, to test his mettle. And if he loses, then he has to cut off a finger. No, he doesn't have to do that. Unless he wants to.
1 point of credibility.
Yeah, 1 point of credibility, yeah. So, we're going to be talking about, since we're doing an action film, we're going to be talking about another action film here. The movie Die Hard. When they were first making that movie, what was it originally designed to be a sequel to before it evolved into its own thing?
Yeah, I feel like I came across this at one point. So it's going to be an action movie that it could have been a sequel to. I think I'm just about to lose 1 point of credibility.
If you were to take a guess, what would you think?
Can you tell me what year it was released?
1985.
Gosh, I don't know.
Okay. The movie Die Hard is based on a novel titled Nothing Lasts Forever. In the 80s, when they were trying to get this novel to be turned into a film, which ultimately became Die Hard, they originally pitched it as a sequel to the 1985 Schwarzenegger film Commando.
Really?
Schwarzenegger turned it down, saying he didn't want to do that, and so they redeveloped it as its own individual film, which became Die Hard, and gave it to Bruce Willis, and it became a franchise on its own.
Very good trivia.
So you are -1 in trivia points. So next week,
maybe I'll get something for you, so you could lose 1 point of credibility.
I welcome the challenge. And for you out there listening, if you have trivia for us, we'll be happy to address it on the show. So feel free to send us an email, send us a Twitter, a Facebook. We'll be happy to hear from you.
Definitely.
So, well, I guess that's going to about do it for us. For my co-host here,
Gorehound.
And I'm Nick. Thanks for listening, and we'll catch you in our next episode.
Adios.
You've been listening to the all-new CultureCast, where every episode is all new. Check out our blog, Zach and Nick's CultureCast, at znculturecast.wordpress.com, and find us on social media. Send us an email at nick.culturecast@gmail.com. We'd love to hear your feedback, comments, and requests. Theme music by bensound.com. The all-new CultureCast, a saltwater production, copyright 2016.
Maybe it's because I was just watching the entire Twilight series the other day.